So guys, I know you're probably getting sick of hearing about the Bulls and any moves that they may or may not be making at the trade deadline, because really all of this is speculation and rumors until something officially happens. I've also already made a few videos myself on the Bulls and any potential trade scenarios based on the common players most of the league knows is on the trading block. And I've also been pretty firm in my belief that the Bulls will not be making any moves before the deadline. And up until recently, I actually felt that this was the right move, given, this is an assessment year and the front office should really just have this season play out and evaluate who fits and who doesn't when they are flush with cap space in the offseason. And that's about a week ago. I have been of the opinion that trading for Andre Drummond actually makes sense before the deadline, but not trading too much for him anyway. I'm talking, Otto for salary purposes, Daniel Gafford, Hutchinson, a second rounder, which honestly, even all of that sounds a bit too much to actually be trading for Andre Drummond, because again, the Cavs have very little leverage in trying to move Drummond, especially since they still haven't found a package to move him, and will likely end up having to buy him out in the long run. But either way, whether the Bulls end up making a move or not before the 25th, Casey Johnson, the Bulls beat writer, did come out with this article in ranking all the Bulls players by trade value if the Bulls were to make a move. I think even among the Bulls reporters, there is doubt that the Bulls will in fact make a trade before the deadline, but I thought the article was interesting. I definitely recommend you guys check it out if you haven't already. I'll leave a link to the article in the description, but what I wanted to do in this video is discuss some of the rankings Casey Johnson made for each player on the roster, and where were some of the areas where I disagreed with him. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bull Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Guys, before I get into the video, it's been a while since I've done a giveaway on the channel compared to how often I was doing them before. And I am planning on doing a giveaway when the channel reaches 4,000 subscribers, so stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss this giveaway announcement. The easiest way to do that, of course, is to subscribe and hit the bell notifications. Based on the channel stats, only about 67% of you actually aren't subscribed to the channel, so if you want to make sure you don't miss any uploads, be sure to subscribe, especially if you're a Bulls fan, as I'll continue to upload daily Bulls content. But now that I've got that out of the way, let's talk about these rankings that Casey Johnson has put together. So the way that he's pieced these out is by putting some of the players in various categories. The seller category, who on the team are keepers, and then of course the quote-unquote the rest, as he calls it. Of course, I think all of this is caveated with the fact that even for the supposed untouchables like Zach Lavine and Patrick Williams, every player has a price where it is too great to not pass up on. So Casey actually has Thaddeus Young as the #1 ranked option on a potential sellers list. And the only reason that I disagree with this is because I actually think Thaddeus should be included on the keepers list. Next to Lavine, Thaddeus Young probably has the highest trade value on the team. So I understand this is an attractive piece that would be considered, a seller for another team to pick up, especially when he's likely not a part of the Bulls' long-term plans. But I actually think it would be a mistake to move him even for an attractive offer. It would have to be an overwhelming offer to move on from Thaddeus, just because he's been such an integral part of this roster and the overall success on both ends of the floor, and his veteran leadership is greatly needed for these young guys who often struggle down the stretch from their lack of experience in clutch situations. The second ranked player by trade value he has listed as Denzel Valentine, which I don't agree with this one at all. I wouldn't put Valentine in the keeper column, either, nor would I put him in the rest category, but to put him as the second ranked trade asset on the Bulls, ahead of guys like Satoransky, Otto Porter, Markkanen, I just found that a little odd. Now, his argument was that, teams like his confidence and his swagger and the fact that he's a decent shooter and not afraid of big moments. But to that I reply, his confidence and his swagger is actually to his detriment most of the time, and having a horrible basketball IQ and more often than not making very bad decisions on the floor. I obviously wouldn't be opposed to trading Valentine, especially if it nets us something in return. He is on an expiring contract, and I honestly doubt the Bulls will re-sign him, so if you can get, say, a second-round pick for him in return for a team that just wants a little shooting, then sure, go for it. But to say he's the second most tradable player on the Bulls, I think that's a bit of a reach. Third, fourth, and fifth that he has on the list, these are the veterans, Tomas Satoransky, Garrett Temple, and Otto Porter, all in that order. These ones make sense to me because Otto and Temple, they're on expiring deals, and a team that is a fringe contender might be looking for some veteran experience that can give you wing defense and decent shooting. Satoransky's contract actually expires the following season, but next year it is only partially guaranteed, so it still makes his expiring deal attractive for a team that might want to look to bring in a veteran with some good playmaking abilities and helping run the offense off the bench. Honestly, I would have all of these guys ahead of Valentine in terms of their trade value, because I certainly see some teams being interested in these players just looking to make a push for title contention. And then finally, 6th on the list in terms of selling options for a trade, he has Lauri Markkanen. Now, I think Lauri's trade value, his actual value as a player, is probably higher than any of these guys, even Thaddeus for that matter, because he is a better player than the rest of them. Younger and has more potential long term, as these are other players, they're veterans, they're likely going to start declining soon. I think the only thing that differs with Lauri is the fact that he's going to be a restricted free agent, and it's clear teams around the league know he's looking for a pretty hefty payday, given the Bulls were not able to reach an extension with him to the tune of being $4 million a year apart. Now, those are reports anyway. Now, we don't know what the specific dollar amounts were and what they were negotiating as far as actually reaching an extension, but either way, Lauri's looking to get paid, and probably more than what he's worth, because he offers a unique skill set as a stretch big man. So because of that, I can understand why his trade value might be a little lower, just because of the uncertainty of a team unsure if they'll be able to retain him in free agency, and why give up assets for a few month rental if he walks. Now, as far as the keepers, K.C. Johnson has Zach Lavine and Patrick Williams, which isn't a surprise. That's to be expected. I definitely agree on that. And then he has a sort of a separate category he calls the young and the nebulous of Coby White, Wendell Carter Jr., Daniel Gafford, and Ryan Arcidiacono. I'm not really sure why he doesn't have Coby and Wendell in the sellers category. I mean, especially Wendell, because I still think his long-term fit with the team is in doubt, especially if the Bulls trade for an actual center and they keep Lowry when he becomes a restricted free agent. Coby White, I mean, he's been disappointing recently. I won't deny that, but I think given this is only a second season, it's still too early to just give up on him now, unless you can get a serious return for him, of course. I do think Coby's scoring, despite his current flaws in other areas, his scoring will prove to be a valuable asset the Bulls can really use in the future as a spark off the bench. And then Ryan Arcidiacono, I mean, I really like Archie just because he's a true hustler. He gives it his all on the court, and for his size and lack of athleticism, the fact that he was actually able to make it into the NBA is very respectable. But I don't know how he wasn't included in the rest category, and I'll explain what K.C. Johnson has labeled as the rest. So for that category, K.C. Johnson included Luke Cornett, Cristiano Felicio, and Chandler Hutchinson, and the reason he calls this as the rest is because the consensus is nobody's knocking, nobody's home. In other words, no team is going to want these guys, especially not giving up assets for them, which I completely agree with. I mean, Hutchinson may still have potential. He's still young, he's athletic, and can be a versatile player, but he hasn't shown to be an effective one or reliable player at all during his time in Chicago. And of course, now he's been out for months on end due to personal reasons, which we have no idea what that means. So yes, with all this, I would agree. Nobody is knocking or calling for Hutchinson. And yeah, for Felicio and Cornett, that's a given. Nobody's looking to trade those guys. Like I said, I'm surprised he didn't include Ryan Arcidiacono in this category, given I doubt anybody would actually be interested in trading for him. But I could be wrong. Maybe you have a team that is looking to bring in a gritty hustle player for a few minutes off the bench, but I don't really see it. All in all, I agree with most of what Casey is saying, what he's put together in this article in terms of ranking players and categorizing them. I think the main areas where I disagree is with ranking Valentine as the second highest trade value. I don't think that's correct at all. Not when you have at least moderately valuable veterans on expiring contracts. And I also think Wendell should have been included on the sellers list, and potentially even Coby White. Again, all of this is within reason and relative depending on what you can actually get for any of these players, because every player has a price that is too great to pass up, even guys like Zach Lavine and Patrick Williams. Let me know what you guys think though. Do you think K.C. Johnson got these rankings right? What, if any, players do you expect the Bulls to potentially move here in the next few days? Which ones do you think make the most sense to trade? and who should they be exchanging for them. Like I said, for me, it would be bringing in Drummond for minimal assets. Otherwise, it likely just makes the most sense for the Bulls to stay put until the offseason. Let me know in the comments your perspective. Be sure to subscribe again if you're a Bulls fan, as I post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, as always, and I will catch you in the next one.